I hope both our judges are present here, Rani ma'am and Ms. Najwa.
Yep, I am.
I am
Okay,
too.
ma'am. Okay, fine. So I guess we'll start. Everybody, a very big welcome to Echoes, a live English recitation competition here. So I'll introduce both of the judges without further ado. Rani ma'am is currently an associate professor at Department of Mathematical Sciences, ISER Berhampur. Her... Oh, sorry, ma'am. Okay, her research interest includes harmonic analysis. Apart from being a math teacher, she is known for her arts and is an avid fan of poetry. Her Instagram page is filled with cute little stories and her drawings. And Najwa Abdul Rashid performed slam poetry in college, but now enjoys making limericks for her daughter. She is a state level winner and a multiple time university winner in poetry recitation. She graduated from Tata Institute of Social Sciences and is now residing in Finland, researching on Finnish cities. So, judges, do you have something to say?
All the best to the participants. I'm looking forward for the narrations.
Oh.
I don't
Okay,
know.
so-
Like maybe I'll save my words for the end.
Okay, that's great, ma'am. So I think we'll start with our first participant, Sai Smriti Sahu. Are you there?
Yeah, am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Okay. Maybe life isn't about avoiding the bruises. Maybe it's about collecting the scars to prove we showed up for it. Good evening, I am Sai Smriti Sahu. Want to present my poem whose title is If, written by Rudyard Kipling. If you can keep your head when all about you are losing theirs and blaming it on you. If you can trust yourself when all men doubt you. If you can wait and not be tired by waiting, or being lied about, don't deal in lies, or being hated, don't give way to hating, and yet don't look too good nor talk too wise. If you can dream and not make dreams your master, if you can think and not make your thoughts your aim, if you can meet with triumph and disaster and not and treat those two impostors the same, if you can bear to hear the truth you have spoken, twisted by knaves to make it trap for fools, or wash the thing you gave your life to broken, and stoop and build them up with worn out tools. If you can make one heap of all your winnings and risk it on one turn of pitch and toss, and lose, and start again at your beginnings, and never breath a word about your loss, if you can force your heart and love and cynic to serve your turn along after they are gone. And so hold on when there is nothing in you except the will which say to them, hold on. If you can talk with crowds and keep your virtue, or walk with kings, nor lose the common touch. If neither voice nor living friends can hurt you, if all men count with you, but none too much. If you can fill the unforgettable minute with 60 seconds worth of distance, yours is the earth and everything that's in it. And which is more, you will be a man. Thank you.
Thank you, Sai Smriti. Now, next we have Sakshi.
Am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Okay. So this is my self-written poem titled Rebirth. Those winters' darkness took me in. That soul with its charm was lost within. It were my screams for myself that in those silences I couldn't hear. Though I thought I moved ahead, but actually I was always there. Feet were cold and hopes lost, clutched to darkness, not realizing the cost. And just as the snow covered the barren trees. That's what my ego did to me, which everyone but me could see. Had nothing to be proud of, eventually losing all of me, but boasted being someone I wasn't. It was me, but not really. And while the snow pulled me in slowly, my eyes reached out for the sun. Awestruck with its shine and charm, with my shallowness I was done. And as the essence of spring began to linger in the breeze, it was time to revive the old soul that was long before ceased. And the spring's melodies and its rhythm began to renew the barren trees with bright green leaves as grasses sparkled with morning dew. And those screams of mine, as soon as I realized my worth, turned to my soul's song, enchanting the need of rebirth. A rebirth that adds values, transits from cold dark to warm blue sky, like a bird to a flower or a caterpillar to butterfly. Unlatching the doors to the canary's cage, the warm air embraced the aromas of tuberose and sage. The vibes in the chirrup of birds induced a life in my lost soul. With restored light, once engulfed by darkness, this enthusiasm made me desire for more. It was time to rise up from all my misery, giving upon those excuses and seek for a victory. It was time to let go of the past and regain what was long back lost. To accept, forgive, and realize one's worth, it was a time for a rebirth. Thank you.
Thank you, Sakshi. Next we have Rohin Nath.
Am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Good evening, everyone. Hope you're all enjoying the events today. The poetry which I'll recite is an original piece written by me. I call it The Last Glimpse, and it dictates the futility of war. I hope you guys find it interesting. The last glimpse. There, a young soldier lied on the hospital bed, stayed silent and immobilized as he heavily bled, faintly opened his eyes to observe the mayhem, and exhausted nurse was announcing several names. At the same time, I, a doctor and savior, the way I was known, reached and stood beside him to investigate the boy alone. The other doctors refused to examine him as he was a foe, whereas I, who swore a Hippocratic oath, has a life to bestow. Neither did he move, nor did he watch me staring at him, but relentlessly gazed blankly as a pale wall with a grin. He gently inserted his finger into his chest pocket, pulled out torn paper, which soaked with blood and sweat. Tears rolled down his eyes and onto his cheek and stared at it. I wore my glasses and moved closer to inspect it. I was literally traumatized by the magnitude of the tragedy. For what it includes is a photograph of his precious family. He shut his eyes and remained soundless for his life today, and inhaled his concluding breath before the last glimpse. Thank you.
Thank you, Rohin. Next we have Anina.
Am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Good evening to all. I'm here with a sonnet written by William Shakespeare. This sonnet attempts to define love by telling both what it is and is not. In the first quatrain, the speaker says that love, the marriage of true minds, is perfect and unchanging. It does not admit impediments, and it does not change when it finds changes in the loved ones. Here goes the poem. Let me not, to the marriage of true minds, admit impediments. Love is not love, which alters when it alteration finds, or bends with a remover to remove. Oh no, it is an ever fixed mark that looks on tempest and is never shaken. It is the star to every wandering barks, whose worth unknown, although his height be taken. Love is not time's fool, though rosy lips and cheeks within his bending sickle's compass come. Love alters not with his brief hours and weeks, but bears it out even to the edge of doom. If this error then upon me proved, I never write, no, no man ever loved. Thank you.
Thank you, Anina. Next, we have Niharika on stage.
Hi, am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Okay, great. Good evening, judges and my friends. I am Niharika Raghuram, and I'll be reciting the poem If by Rudyard Kipling. This poem was written by him for his son John to coach him about the characteristics on what makes a man a man. I'll be starting now. If you can keep your head when all around you are losing theirs and blaming it on you. If you can trust yourself when all men doubt you but make allowance for their doubting too. If you can wait and not be tired of waiting or being lied about, don't deal in lies, or being hated, don't give way to hating, and yet don't look too good nor talk too wise. If you can dream and not make dreams your master, if you can think and not make thoughts your aim, if you can meet both triumph and disaster and treat those two impostors just the same, if you can bear to watch the truth you've spoken twisted by knaves to make a trap for fools, or watch the things you gave all your life to broken and stoop and build them up from worn out tools. If you can make one heap of all your winnings and risk it on one turn of pitch and toss and lose and start again at your beginnings and never breathe a word about your loss. If you can force your heart and nerve and sinew to serve their turn long after they're gone, and so hold on when there is nothing in you except the will which says to them, hold on. If you can talk with crowds and keep your virtue, or walk with kings nor lose the common touch, if neither foes nor loving friends can hurt you, if all men count with you but none too much, if you can fill an unforgiving minute with 60 seconds worth of distance run, yours is the earth and everything that's in it. And which is more, you'll be a man, my son. Thank you.
Thank you, Niharika. Next, we have Sudev.
So, hi guys. So, today I am Sudev and presenting you a very famous sonnet about If Thou Must Love Me from my very famous poet Elizabeth Barrett Browning. So, here we go. If thou must love me, let it be for naught, except for love's sake only. Do not say, I love her for a smile, her look, her way of speaking gently, for a trick of thought that falls in well with mine. And certes brought a sense of pleasant ease on such a day. For these things in themselves, beloved, may be changed or changed for thee, and love so wrought may be unwrought so. Neither love me for thine own pity, wiping my cheeks dry. A creature might forget to weep, who bore thy comfort long, and lose thy love thereby. But love me for love's sake, and that evermore thou must love on through love's eternity. Thank you.
Thank you, Sudev. Next, we have Saptarshi.
Good evening, everyone. Am I audible?
Yes.
For the past few months, the Indian soldiers are being constantly questioned. The Chinese and Pakistani soldiers are constantly trying to harm India, but they stand tall to protect India from all attacks, devoting their lives. So today, I would like to dedicate this poem, Small Pain in My Chest by Michael Mack, to all those soldiers who were brutally killed in the Chinese attack and Pakistani attacks. The soldier boy was sitting calmly underneath that tree. As I approached it, I could see him beckoning to me. The battle had been long and hard and lasted through the night, and scores of figures on the ground lay still by morning's light. I wonder if you would help me, sir? He smiled as best as he could. A sip of water on this morn would surely do me good. We fought all day and all night with scarcely any rest. A sip of water, for I have a small pain in my chest. As I looked at him, I could see the large stain on his shirt, all reddish blood from his warm blood mixed in with Asian dirt. Not much, said he. I count myself more lucky than the rest. They are all gone, but I just have a small pain in my chest. Must be fatigue, he weakly smiled. I must be getting old. I see the sun is shining bright, and yet I'm feeling cold. We climbed the hill 200 strong, but as we cleared the crest, the night exploded, and I felt this small pain in my chest. I looked around to get some aid. The only things I found were big, deep craters in the earth. The bodies on the ground. I kept on firing at them, sir. I tried to do my best, but finally sat down with this small pain in my chest. I'm grateful, sir, he whispered as I handed my canteen and smiled a smile that was, I think, the brightest that I've seen. Seems silly that a man my size, so full of women's zest, could find himself defeated by a small pain in his chest. What would my wife be thinking of her man so strong and grown if she could see me sitting here, too weak to stand alone? Could my mother have imagined as she held me to her breast that I would be sitting here one day with this pain in my chest? Can it be getting too dark so soon? He winced up at the sun. It's going dim, and I thought that the day had just begun. I think before I travel on, I'll get a little rest. And quietly, the boy died from that small pain in his chest. I don't recall what happened then. I think I must have cried. But I put my arms around him and pulled him to my side. As I held him to me, I could feel our wounds were pressed, the large one in my heart against the small one in his chest. Thank you.
Thank you, Saptarshi. Next, we have Srujini.
Hello everyone. So my name is Shrujini Rautrai and I'm here with my self-composed poem, which is named Interstellar Love. So I love writing poems like this, which includes a lot of science as well as literature, because I kind of believe that both of them are essential for our lives. So here I go with my poem. Interstellar Love. It's 2 a.m. on a cold, misty night, the time when conversations are true. The sky shows a velvet hue. You are at another terrace 286 kilometers away, but the phone call, it refuses to call it a day. They say distance is pain, and we, oh we, are trying in vain. But as long as you are the light in my light years, I could travel 7 galaxies and get back to you. For me, you are the constant star Sirius Hawaiian navigators know, the star to guide Cano. I feel your warmth in Magellanic clouds, the aboriginals looked with distant campfires and crowds. You are the shine in the Milky Way that refuses to drift astray. You are the constant dots in the sky that the Mayans made calendars about. You are the gorgeous lines and the shining curves that the Aztecs carved. You are the bit of every Morse code that will help us travel to our interstellar abode. You are every failed gravitational equation that will propel us into outer universe. But you are also every Brownian motion that will make us collide back to each other. And then you tell me about the theory of panspermia, the belief that life on Earth originated from life outside. If panspermia were indeed true, you and me have traveled miles. We have traveled the vast space as empty as our filled hearts. We have fought the crawling space storms and collided with barging rocks. We have burnt ourselves in blazing meteors and chilled our hearts in skiting comets. We have escaped every gravitational field that pulled us back. And yes, we have also jumped every black hole that scared us apart. And at last, we have kissed the million tiny stardust, which like us glows, blazes, and goes into another world like our own. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Srujani. Next, we have Supratim Dev.
Yes, am I able?
Yes, you are, but I think your voice
Hello.
is breaking. Yeah, you are audible.
Is it okay now?
Yes, it's fine.
Hello.
Yes, it is audible.
Okay. Good evening, one and all. I'm here to recite the poem When Love Arrives by Sarah Kay and Phil Kay. I knew exactly what love looked like in 7th grade. Even though I hadn't met love yet, if love had wandered into my homeroom, I would have recognized him at first glance. Love for a hemp necklace. I would have recognized her at first glance. Love for a tight French braid. Love played acoustic guitar and knew all my favorite Beatles songs. Love wasn't afraid to ride the bus with me. And I knew I just must be searching the wrong classroom, just must be checking the wrong hallway. She was there. I was sure of it. If only I could find him. But when love finally showed up, she had a bowl cut. He wore the same clothes every day for a week. Love hated the bus. Love didn't know anything about the Beatles. Instead, every time I tried to kiss love, our teeth got in the way. Love became the reason I lied to my parents. I'm going to Ben's house. Love had terrible rhythm on the dance floor, but made sure we never miss a slow song. Love waited by the phone because she knew if her father picked up, it would be, hello, hello. I guess the hang up. And love grew, stretched like a trampoline. Love changed. Love disappeared slowly like a baby teeth, losing parts of me I thought I needed. Love stayed away for years, and when love finally reappeared, I barely recognized him. Love smells different now, had darker eyes, a broader back. Love came with freckles I didn't recognize. New birthmark, a softer voice. Now, there were new sleeping patterns, new favorite books. Love had songs that reminded him of someone else. Songs love didn't like to listen. So did I. Love is messier now. Love is simple. Love uses the word poops in front of my parents. Love chews too loud. Love leaves the cap of the toothpaste. Love uses a smiley face in her text messages. And turns out, love shits. But love also cries. And love will tell you, you are beautiful. And mean it over and over again. You are beautiful. When you first wake up, you are beautiful. When you have just been crying, you are beautiful. When you don't want to hear it, you are beautiful. When you don't believe it, you are beautiful. When nobody else will tell you, you are beautiful. Love still thinks you are beautiful, but love is not perfect and will sometimes forget when you need to hear it most. You are beautiful. Do not forget this. Love is not who you were expecting. Love is not what you can predict. Maybe love is in New York City already asleep. You are in California, Australia, wide awake. Maybe love is always in the wrong time zone. Maybe love isn't ready for you. Maybe you aren't ready for love. Maybe love stays. Maybe love can't. Maybe love shouldn't. Love arrives exactly when love is supposed to, and love leaves exactly when love must. When love arrives, say welcome, make yourself comfortable. If love leaves, ask her to leave the door open behind her. Turn off the music, listen to the quiet, whisper, thank you for stopping by. That's it from my side. Thank you.
Thank you, Supratim. Next, we have Asta. Asta, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear or see
Perfect.
or
Yeah.
anything?
Yeah, everything is fine.
Yes. Greetings, respected judges, event organizers, and my fellow competitors. Today I'm going to recite a poem called Jabberwocky by Lewis Carroll, 1832 to 1898. Twas brillig, and the twilly toes were gyre and gimble in the vein. All the mimsy were the burrows, and the mome rats outbrave. Beware the Jabberwocky, my son, for the jaws that bite and the claws that catch. Beware the jujube bird, and shun the frumious bandersnatch. He took his vorpal sword in hand. Long time he sought his manxome foe. So he rested by the tumtum tree and stood awhile in thought. As in a fish thought he stood, the Jabberwock came whiffling through the tulgey wood with eyes of flame, and burbling as it came. 1, 2, 1, 2, and through the vorpal blade went snicker-snack. He left it dead, and with his head he went galloping back. And did you kill the Jabberwock? Oh, come to my arms, my beamish boy! Oh, what frabjous day! Calais, Calais! He chortled in his joy. 'Twas brillig, and the twilly toe, it was gyre and gimble in the way. All the mimsy were the burrow, and the mome rats outgrabe. Thank you.
Thank you, Asta. Next, we have Qazi Sahilur Rahman on stage. Qazi, are you there?
Hello, I'm audible?
Yes, you are audible. Go on.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Qazi Sailur Rahman, a simple man walking through the way, making my way through this universe. And today I'm going to communicate to all of you through my poem, Moments. Sadness, an expression, a mark to pain, sufferings of someone. I'm not crying, but I'm sad. Hurt, I am. Physically, or maybe in my soul. Sitting quiet at the end of the world in melancholy, dreaming about the night circus in bed, in desolation. Want to live the sorrowness, want to fly over these unvalued feelings, but stuck in trap of existence. I am. Some are sad to be scolded, some for broken trusts, some for the guilt of their crimes, some are still searching for the reasons. For time to time, for ages, regret we always have for the decisions that led us here. But gone through it, everyone has at a point in their entity. Money can buy happiness, but can it remove the stain of agony? In despair, we hope and expect always. But why? Because expectations are something we want, but get we none. Hope may be a good thing, but life nullifies its meaning. Maybe we deserve what we get. Maybe expectations is nothing better than a hallucinations, or it's the only thing that's keeping me alive. Anyway, what's the matter with my friend? I still wonder, with whom I met at a stationery store one day, buying colors to paint my canvas. Lonely I am, talked with none for a long time. or to say never picked up their calls. Lived in this world for longer than I can take. Search for willingness I have left. Maybe hope is why I'm still living the dreams no mortal has ever dreamt of. But is it always sorrow? Isn't there a silver lining to this? I think yes, there is. And it's love. Love, a mysteriously beautiful term, a word to express something beautiful, something charismatic, to portray a mystical feeling towards a piece of beauty, towards your love. Falling in love, a magical moment, a snapshot that stays engraved in our memory, among with a few things that we take with us beyond anything. To me, love is like a food. Cook it along with that someone, with the flavors to bring out something you want to taste and create the most delicious bond together. Fallen in love everyone has for someone or something. Love to cherish your life and feel pleasure and happiness. Happiness, a gif of merriment for which we pursue throughout the life. We fight and we suffer just to be jolly, just to make our loved ones happy. We do our best to leave footprints on this world, and our main motive somehow becomes just to be happy. But what are these feelings? Why does it affect us so much? I don't know. But what I know, that it is all going to last for a moment. We are all living in this moment. I'm expressing my thought in front of you all in this particular moment. The pains I suffered, the joy I received, all lasted for a single moment. So no matter in what phase you are going through, live it, live through it, because it is going to pass away. It is going to pass away. Thank you.
Thank you, Kazi. Next, we have Gyan Ranjan Parida.
Good evening, everyone. Sorry, my video will be off because power cut is here, so I won't be able to turn my camera. I will not be visible, but I will say about my own poem. It's titled "Drone in the Ocean of Insanity." This is about depression, which is common nowadays. But is it possible to pen down the feelings that you feel in this phase? Well, no, but still I tried. So it starts with "Help, help, help!" I screamed while I was drowning in the ocean of insanity. I was helpless. They were watching it, as if they are not shocked at all, for being full, for being lonely, for being me. They wanted me to be something else, which I was not. I am not the burning candle. I can't sacrifice myself for them. Should I? I have a life. You consider it or not. They called me mad for going against their ways. When will they understand? It's my life. They can't control it. I jumped from the edge with the happiness of freedom. Little did I know they would have left without turning back. Thank you.
Thank you, Gyan. Next, we have Pratishta.
I hope I'm audible and well. Sorry about that. I have to set up my
Yes,
phone.
you are now.
Okay, so I'm Pratishtha. I'm going to recite a self-composed poem. It is titled "Where is Equality?" So it is basically along the feministic lines, and I hope I am able to do justice to the subject. So here I go. To say this, I'm afraid.
I'm sorry, can you speak loud?
Oh, I'm really sorry.
Excuse me?
I definitely can. Thank you so much for that, for the heads up. Okay.
It's still
Pratishtha, can you start from the beginning, please?
Yes, definitely. Okay. So first of all, my introduction, I'm Pratishtha, and this is a self-composed poem, and it is basically around the lines of feminism. It is titled "Where is Equality?" So I really hope I'm able to do justice to the subject. I hope I'm properly audible now.
Yes,
yes.
Thank you so much. Okay, so here I begin. To say this, I'm afraid we are not equally paid. We don't go out in the dark for the stray dogs that bark, told to stay at homes under the labels of morality. I don't see where is equality. Take pepper spray everywhere you go. Wherever you are, always let me know. The city is safe is a mere formality. I don't see where is equality. The dress is too short. The talk is too deep. Shut your opinions and go right to sleep. Fighting every day, log kya kahenge mentality. I don't see where is equality. Good girls don't talk to boys. Good wives stay at home. Queen and not the queen's the rightful owner of the throne. Tired of tooth and nail fighting the patriarchy, I don't see where is equality. Suffering at the hands of immorality, we say we have, but we have not yet achieved morality. We think that we have achieved neutrality, but we haven't. So, suffering at the hands of immorality, we say we have achieved, but we have not yet achieved neutrality. Everyone's equal is a fantasy, not a reality, because I don't see where is equality. It's not your favor, it is humanity. It is my right, not my vanity. We need to extend from the world of virtuality because everyone deserves to feel equality. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Pratishta. Next, we have Avinash Patru.
Good evening, everyone. I have just left my poem in the chat. I would be reciting, so you could follow it very easily. So I wrote this poem around September 2019, before the COVID thing happened and everybody got locked in their homes. So my poem is called Dreams. So it goes as: snoozing a list of alarms, get start the day of mine, wanting to miss the classes after a long nap and a great dine. Having a great breakfast, getting a call from mom, still dreaming of my dream, remembering those good days at home. Having good buddies to share my secrets with, reversing my sorrows will be my warning seat. Gazing at the stars shall end my day, not hoping for a nightmare, not a night of May. Snoozing a list of alarms, realizing it was just a dream. Finally, I woke up before my roommate screamed. So this poem I wrote around September while I just returned from my home and I was just feeling somehow homesick. And this poem changed its fate totally in the COVID pandemic. As you can see, everything just got contradicted. So you always have a breakfast that is good and you are just in the home. Okay, you can just gaze at the stars and obviously your mom would be there, so it would be very nice. So, this poem, I don't know, it was just something that came to mind that time and I just felt the opposite in the pandemic. Yeah, thank you. So it can be said that some of my dreams got into reality. So I just titled it as Dreams. Thank you.
Thank you, Avinash. Aditi Muharana, you are next.
Am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Yeah, and now am I visible?
Yes.
Yeah. So a very warm evening to one and all present over here. I am Aditi Moharana, grateful to have this golden opportunity to stand and express my feelings about women empowerment through a self-composed poem named Wrong Metaphors. So here's how it goes. I used to live on poetries and often asked, are they just beautiful words scribbled on a piece of paper? Or are they answers to the questions we have never learned to ask? For every time I read them, I feel like somebody has seen through my mask. But when every second poem on my Instagram feed speaks of women empowerment and gender ramifications, and the next moment forgets its questions in between double taps and messed up algorithms, I wish I couldn't feel poetry. When a fetus feeds on the colostrum of society and breathes air that that smells of patriarchy. I wish I couldn't feel poetry. When a girl is conscious of tainting the temple's sanctity with her blood, I wish I couldn't feel poetry. When their words with ingrained misogyny and chauvinism are more nude than her curves, than flesh itself, I wish I couldn't feel poetry. When a woman decorates Spain with vermilion, and when she is recklessly sodomized for refusing to be loved by a wrong metaphor, I wish I couldn't feel poetry. When she couldn't fight the hounders choking her neck like a boa constrictor, I wish I couldn't feel poetry. When another new vagina is not being able to nurture her womb with a life, I wish, oh Lord, I wish I couldn't feel poetry. And there's this irony chuckling. To my catastrophe, I perceive them all, holding on to every drop of tear with my eyes. When every time I was asked to name a female vestigial organ, I tear my heart apart and bleed into another unanswered poetry. I wish I couldn't feel poetry. Period. Thank you.
Thank you, Aditi. And next we have Kaustubh Kulkarni.
Hello, am I audible and visible?
Yes, you are.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So, this is a poem I wrote. The title of the poem is Shattered Dreams. There are no words for that tremendous pain which you feel as your efforts go into vain. Shattered into pieces, the castle of your dreams, tears from your eyes flowing into streams. As you stand in the wreckage with a burden of self-doubt, there's nobody to hear you, however hard you shout. You feel it's all over. Your dreams are dead. Everything is gone. You don't know what's ahead. All roads are blocked. There's nowhere to go. Life hit you with such a hard blow. Where dreams once danced lies a sad gloom. A withered garden lies where dreams used to bloom. Your life is destroyed. You're all left alone. With you is your pain and every single moan. You thought you could do it. You dreamed large and big. But now you are left with your own grave to dig. People tell you to cheer up, to start over and again. They do so as they can't feel your real pain. It is easy to just speak, easy to give advice. They don't know how your dreams shattered in a trice. I don't claim to feel you. I don't know your ache, nor am I judging you or giving a counsel fake. I am just telling you something I once felt when reality started living where hope once dwelt. When I lost, I fell to the worst extremes. When I was left alone with my shattered dreams, with my shattered dreams. Thank you.
Thank you, Kaustubh. Next we have Jaishan Vaibhav.
Just a minute, please.
Yeah, sure.
Am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Okay. So good evening, everyone. Good evening, everyone. I'm Jashan Vaibhav. I'm going to present one of my originals. Actually, it's based on a life event that happened in my sister's life, a tragic event. I hope I do justice to those emotions. Hear all A, hear all A, a tale so wonderful, your heart should sway. A day she smiled, and a day she'll cry, told to be secretive, but she knows they will cry. For she was told to wear pretty pinks with frills all around. Even if she wore an overall, she could still spot the hounds. They lurked and smirked. No, they weren't some strangers or a neighbor she knew. They were her in-laws and her very own view. She had grown up proud and free. Now she had to marry him after marrying a tree. She respected the tradition while they claimed to understand her ambition. She entered this place which was now her supposed home. She didn't feel accepted, but you know the saying about Rome? So she built a foundation, a building so strong, the scaffolding later turned out to be done wrong. They had both been mature before all of this. Marrying a lover should be a bliss. So when she's tired and lays on the bed, why does her husband sway his head? Why does she feel there's a miscommunication? Did her radio tune into the wrong station? They let her do a job not too far away from that house. She was allowed to wear a skirt and a blouse, but the dream filter expired sooner than expected. The miscommunication grew stronger and her feelings rejected. Don't go to an office, work on getting a child. But how could they tame a heart so wild? So she talked to him, her dearest. He knew her the best. But he swayed his head yet again, and the bed sheets didn't catch a stain. Her tears were endless because no blood came out. She told him she was only his, and he had never had a doubt. She showed him a video of how this could still happen, but who knew a knowledge session could be used as a weapon? I'm open to discoveries, my lord. I won't put you online. But you know how having a child feels divine. She didn't want to have one, now at least. She expected people to go mad, but there was no beast. The predators are stealthy. They will tear you apart even if you're healthy. So that night his head swayed and so did his mind. He held her in a way that felt unkind. Not up to it, and she clearly said no. Oh, but you like it once you get into flow. But I don't want it today or tomorrow. If you touch me now, it will cause me sorrow. I won't touch you ever then. Will that make you happy? She knew her husband was angry and hence snappy. She tried to tell him and he understood, because if he won't, then who would? But why did the papers arrive in her office a week later? She was like a moon with a crater. Craters were beautiful, he had told her before. He just didn't agree with the philosophy anymore. Because science and primal instincts can match, she became a part of the rejected and failed batch. So she signed the papers and they separated soon. Understanding each other was curse or a boon. Her feelings, her choice, her body, her voice, all neglected. A failure so bad, oh, she was rejected. She won't touch a man because she had touched another. Didn't want a child, so the in-laws didn't bother. Lost her dreams to suit to their taste. Now she lost her husband because of being chased. So now would that tree love her? Because she followed each step of the tradition after all. Oh, the tree died last fall, and that explains it all. Hear old A, hear old A. This story is true, come what may. 1,000 years or a millennia later, certain roots won't rot and some societies will never know better. Leave your judgments behind before you enter this door. Don't hold your breath because for miles ahead there's no shore. Even if a millennia passes, she will still be found inside of glasses. Shall not be touched, shall not be heard. Oh, behind the doors, God knows how she's clutched. The clutches of this binding contract claw at her throat even as she sits still. My love, you're starting to overact. We have already been over this still. Running an economy is a man's job, they say. Look pretty for a starling. Again, how much was the pay? This thankless sham society will never know for how much she's worth. Because if she drowns in her own anxiety, who will deal with childbirth? Unlock those cages and let her fly with open wings. She's a mother, she's a daughter, she's a sister, she's a wife. But most importantly, a human being. Most importantly, a human being. Most importantly, a human being. Thank you. I stand up.
Thank you, Jayshan. Next, we have Ishita Ganguly.
Yeah, am I audible and visible?
Yes, you're audible and visible. Go ahead.
So it's a poem written by me, titled Sleep on the Floor. A hollow possession, your actions, my actions. The distractions, some whole numbers, some fractions. An emptiness, the laughter, the anguish, and the happily ever after. Hues of red lurking around, cease. Then you face the sun, soaked in all your sins and sorrows, and you scream. A whisper in your
You just became unmuted, but it's okay. Start again, it's fine.
Did it break in between?
Yes, you just became unmuted for a second. It's okay. Totally fine. Continue. Or if you want, you can start again. Up to you.
Okay, then I would like to start again.
Yeah, great. Go ahead.
So, titled Sleep on the Floor. A hollow possession, your actions, my actions, the distractions, some whole numbers, some fractions. An emptiness, the laughter, the anguish, and the happily ever after. Hues of red lurking around, cease. Then you face the sun, soaked in all your sins and sorrows, and you scream. A whisper in your ears saying, no matter what, I'm right here. Your heart pounding, you hate crowd, I know. You get in your car and the door clicking. You take the road usually less taken. We are in the middle of a sunflower field now. There is so much yellow around, rejoicing and all smiles, bright and beautiful. You close your eyes for seconds. We sit there, hands clutched together. You're staring at me and I back at you. A turquoise reminiscence, gasping for breath. You realize you made that up inside your head. The sky is an artist's work and palette now. Your phone beeps and there's a text, I miss you. How was your day? You drive back home, the stereo plays, because if we don't leave this town, we might never make it out. I was not born to drown, baby, come on. A purple love story with a reddish tinge and pecks of orange yellow. I don't know why I chose the color purple. It carries the warmth of blue and at the same time adds more depth to it. Vibrant as well as sober, gentle. We are made of bits and pieces, silent screams, cracks, and creases. My mom taught me to always be a little careful. Such a pain it is to be human, to be able to feel, sipping on the elixir. A fury and a desperate helplessness, the bruises that we carry, insurgents in a hurry. We are too troubled, aren't we? I've heard people talking about the walls closing in. Well, my walls have been standing still for too long, numb. Red, the color of blood and fire, of love, passion, courage, danger, desire. Code red. Let's start over. You drive to your office next day, not to the tulips or the dandelions as you thought you would. You look more hopeful today, more joyous than yesterday. You were on your way to the movies with your friends, and there's a text. You know, I think I like cottage cheese more than cream cheese now. Lahem. Let's raise a toast to heaven and hell, happiness to buy and sadness to sell. Thank you.
Thank you, Ishiga. And now we have Prerna. Prerna Sharma. You're not yet audible, Prerna. Prerna, you're there? Yeah, I can see you in the meet, but nothing is audible or visible. I think we'll move on to Manvi, and Prerna, you can go last. Is that fine by you? Okay, Manvi, can you do it now?
Yeah, I'm here. So I hope I'm audible and visible.
Yes.
Yeah. So, hey everyone, I'm Manvi and I'm from Aiza Behrampur, first year. And the poem I'm going to say today or recite today is not actually self-composed, but it is really close to my heart because it has taught me a lot about love. And we always have different things about love. So, it's from one of the very famous poets, Lord Byron. So, here it goes. She walks in beauty. She walks in beauty like the night of cloudless climes and starry skies, and all that's best of dark and bright, meet in her aspect and her eyes, thus mellowed to that tender light, which heaven to gaudy day denies. One shade the more, one ray the less, had half impaired the nameless grace, which waves in every raven trees, or softly lightens over her face, where thoughts serenely sweet express, how pure, how dear their dwelling place. And on that cheek and over that brow, so soft, so calm, yet eloquent, the smiles that win, the tints that glow, but tell of days in goodness spent, a mind at peace with all below, a heart whose love is innocent. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Manvi. Next, we have Jignasa. Are you there?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Hi.
perfect. Go ahead.
So here's a poem which I had written when I was in standard 9 or 10 something. So yeah, it's a long way back. I just registered at the last moment, and thank you so much for adding me in. So here it goes. I still remember my first conversation with you. To this old student, this school then was new. I felt lost in this labyrinth of sea, with pillars so high and walls so tall. Everyone here was a stranger to me, and you, the strangest of all. You already knew my name somehow and started conversing with me in English. You're not comfortable in English, and don't ask how angry I had felt when you had said this. Yes, I am comfortable, sternly said I. No, you imposed, you're not. What an insult! Oh my! I was highly humiliated, hurt. There were angry tears in my eyes, and to hide this, I had to clench my fist tight. That day, I hadn't been able to sleep almost till 3 in the night. The night tears that had drenched my pillow by morning were dry and gone, and life moved on. And in the midst of my hectic routine, this little incident was forgotten. Tick-tock, the hands of the clock moved, and I couldn't even know how time flew by. We gradually became friends when and how are questions I still can't reply. Was it while doing projects when our ideas does not match and out of frustration you used to shout at me for no reason but never did I lose my calm and shout back at you? Or was it when I used to tell you small lies just because so fed with your tantrums I was, but you silently forgave me with understanding sighs even though you always knew what the truth was? Was it when we realized how useless our house members were? Every single girl and guy wanted to contribute to the group work as less as possible, and thus the entire workload wasn't you and I. Was it during the break time campus tours we met by walking when you poured out to me your feelings for your crush? Or was it on the gallery steps when you kept on demanding me to tell you my love story and I, with a blush, told you everything from beginning to end and narrated to you every little tidbit? From friend, you turned into my best friend. You understood me completely. You knew my heart's entry and exit. And here I am now, with your slam book in my hand. It asked me to write a message for you in 2 lines. This is our last day in school, and no magic wand seems to possess powers of rewinding the clock to go back in time. Today, my eyes are again tearful, but the difference is I can't hold them back today. So you tell me, how in these 2 lines will I confide the time between this tear and that tear of my first day? Thank you.
Thank you, Jignasa. Now we have our final participant, Ishagiri. And Prerna, please try switching on your screen. So if after her, you can go. Isha, are you there?
Yes, I'm there.
Okay, go on.
Okay. So, good evening, everyone. The poem that I have chosen today is one of the most closest poem to my heart. Not because I've heard it so many times, but because I think it is one of the most important topics in our nation. So here I go. And the title of my poem is The Right to Learn. So here I go. Growing up, we never had enough money, but my mother insisted that we get a good education. She said that she wanted her daughters to make her own destiny. So she sent us to the best school in the city that she could afford and worked all day long to pay for it. On one hand, she tried to make ends meet. On the other hand, she taught me how to stand on my own 2 feet. At school, they taught me the periodic table. At home, my mother taught me how not to label. At school, I learned the earth was not flat but round. And at home, she taught me that everything that goes around always, always, always comes around. In physics, I learned that matter is any substance that has mass and takes up space. But at home, my mother taught me what matters is how I feel with failure when it is looking directly at my face. In chemistry, I learned that 2 hydrogen and 1 oxygen atoms make up water. But at home, my mother taught me not all lessons that are that all the lessons that her hardships taught her. You see, growing up, we never had enough money, but my mother insisted we had a good education. And a foundation I got, the strongest load bearing part of a building, but a battle she fought. To make sure that private education was responsible for my learning, my education had become a privilege, but what it should have been a right. And I am sure my mother wasn't the only one with her francs out in the fight. When save your daughters, educate your daughters, when saving and educating should never have been the part of the same sentence. We can no longer plead for the right to live, so we can then demand our right to education. Instead, we demand for the right to educate our sons, our daughters, our children, and firstly, our so-called leaders of the nation. Because you see, just like my home, our country might not have enough money since it is a developing nation. But just like my mother, I want our leaders to insist that we get a good education. You must want India's daughters to create their own destiny and not feel like the last brick in a weak, politicized, and corrupt foundation. That's all. Thank you. And thank you so much for showing so much patience to listen to me. Thank you.
Thank you, Isha. Prerna, just try for a last time. Prerna is the last participant that we have, but she has some problems, with the audio and the video. I think, while she comes, judges, can you say a few words?
I mean, I would like to clarify a bit.
Yes,
So I would like to know if Saptarshi Ghosh poem was an original one or was it recited from somewhere else? I might have missed their first introduction a bit. So could someone clarify if Saptarshi's work is original or was it recited by somebody else?
It was not an original, ma'am.
It's not an original. So Saptarshi is not original, right?
No, ma'am.
Okay, and Bhavya Raj, there is no
ma'am. She did not come up for the event.
And right now, Isha's work, was it original or was it written by someone else?
No, ma'am, it wasn't an original work.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. So I guess Prerna cannot join.
Clarifications.
Yes, ma'am.
No, I would like the other judge to give her comments.
Yeah.
Right, thank you. So I'd firstly like to say that some of the original poems that were presented today were absolutely beautifully written. And hence one of the judging criterion to understand how the participants have interpreted and understood their poem, especially it did make a bigger connection when it was the original poem. But I really have to say that some of the poems were outstanding that were presented today. And I would say good job to all of those who presented today. That's it from me.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, judges, all our seniors, and the volunteers for helping out so much. So I guess that's it for the day. Thank you. So all others now go join Pseudology. There the event will start any moment now.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Are we having only the organizers right now?
No, ma'am. Actually, what happened, Prerna somehow did not able to recite her poem. So that's why we are waiting. And then there is also another competition going on. So all people left for the.
Oh, I see. So we are waiting for Prerna right now.
Okay. If you both agree, then we can ask Prerna to recite.
Yeah, sure. I mean,
She faced some issues for the first time, so.
I can wait. I don't have a problem. I mean, as long as Ms. Najwa doesn't have a problem.
I don't have a problem either. I could wait. Sure.
Good. Okay. Thank you. Sure. Prerna, then you can go ahead.
Okay, am I audible? Hello.
Yes.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. My name is Prerna Sharma. So I want to confess before I start. I want to confess something that I haven't given any title to this poem. So here it goes. This world will never let you be in peace. Earn money is your goal. Is what they'll always preach. Compassion, love, empathy, went to hell. Solve every problem, they only use yell. No one understands the depth of one's thought. No one understands the depth of one's sorrow. And the path to get out of this is so narrow. No one wants to dive deep into the mysteries of the earth, float at the surface, and still call themselves worth. There's so much pain in the ocean of my thought, but I choose to swim out to the shore that taught never to be weak, never to give up, because this world needs people like you. So strive and cheer up. Thank you.
Thank you, Prerna, for performance. Thank you, judges, for your time and other participants who joined. So, would you like to speak anything? Because I thought you would like to say something, but some of people left. So would you like to say something before we end?
Were you asking me or?
Yeah.
Okay, seems like my internet connection is unstable over here.
No, I think it's actually Gyan Ranjan because
Oh.
I couldn't hear it either.
Okay.
So I don't know to whom it was addressed.
Yes, ma'am. Actually, I am facing it. So that's why I turned off my camera during presentation because else I won't be able to recite. So that's it.
That's okay. So, I mean, maybe pass on what I wanted to say to the other participants as well. I mean, I genuinely liked a lot, as in like I have a lot of favorites, but then, you know, this is the, you know, tough position when you are a judge, like your creative brain, you know, craves for something, whereas your analytic brain struggles to give more of criticism. So based on that, it was really tough. And I really had a lot of struggle with, I mean, the way that I have written out points, it's much more than the research that I'm doing in math. It's that close, all the grades that I have given here. So I thoroughly enjoyed, and I have a lot of favorites. And if not for this pandemic, or I mean, if not for this online, I think it would have been much more enjoyable if it was on offline, and I would have, you know, heard the cheers and the claps and would have enhanced the poem a bit more. So yeah.
ma'am. It would have been really fun if it had been an offline session.
Yeah, but I do have a suggestion for the organizers. Although this is online, I kind of felt like it was jumping too fast from one participant to other. So, you know, like poems, some poems are like wine, you know, it's better to, you know, give some time for us to digest a bit and then.
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, the problem was pseudology would have to start by 7 p.m. and we didn't expect this many participants for the recitation. So we had no solution actually.
Okay, I see. Okay.
It was all unexpected that yesterday there was a great surge of participants. So we couldn't plan anything differently as such. We are very sorry for the inconvenience.
No, I mean, it's not about inconvenience. It's just about, you know, like some poems are like instant, you know, like I hear the first time, you have, you know, this instinct or the immediate feel that you get by reading the poem or by hearing the poem. But certain poems, like you need to, you know, sync up.
Absorb.
So because of that, my judgment here is like very instinctive. And if I have all the poems on my hand, like later, then maybe my judgment could be
Should
like
we send you a recording of the event?
No, I mean, well, I don't want to spend much time like that.
Okay, ma'am. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Ma'am, the thing is, many even registered during the program started. So it was a whole problem with the number of participants increasing.
I see. Okay. Anyway, things happen. So this is like online, and you have a lot of uncertainties. It's like 2 years are uncertainty years. So it's okay.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for taking your time and being for us here. Hope you had a good time.
Of course I did. Thanks a lot for giving me an opportunity to hear all these things. Like,
yeah.
Right. Okay, so thank you for having me here.
Yeah, we enjoyed having you here.
Thank you, Hanan. Thank you all the organizers.
Thank
you. I shall take leave now.
Yeah, okay.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Okay.
Everyone,
Bye-bye.
bye. Bye.
Okay, bye.
Bye, ma'am.